जय हिंद, जय भारत एंड वेलकम टू डेफ टॉक्स। दिस इज आदि अचिंत। आइए समझें जियोपॉलिटिक्स को एक भारतीय नजरिए से।
So India has a mindset where it hits, it punches below its weight. We have to punch not above our weight. We have to punch not below our weight. We have to increase our weight and punch the post.
ये हमारा सिद्धांत है। हम घर में घुस के मारेंगे।
You know, victims of terrorism do not sit together with perpetrators of terrorism to discuss terrorism.
Namaskar, Jai Hind, Jai Bharat and welcome to Dev Talks. I have the pleasure of having Major General Prabdeep Singh जो उनको बताएंगे भाई what's happening in terms of geopolitics. पिछली बार we had a very spirited discussion in terms of भाई जो गहरे राज्य की चालें थी वो फेल हो रही हैं। अब हम थोड़ा सा उसको आगे लेके जाते हैं. Right? What is actually happening in Iran, what is happening in Israel, and what is happening in Ukraine, and of course China के साथ ये जो भी चीजें चल रही हैं, plus the BRICS summit is coming up. So there is a lot which is in the pipeline. Let's try and figure out क्या कहाँ जाने वाली है दुनिया and what's the game going to be. Sir, namaskar. Jai Hind. Thank you so much for coming in.
Namaskar Adi, good to be back again and to discuss geopolitics, which is changing by the day, by the hour. You do not know what is coming up next. So actually कुछ पता नहीं चल रहा कि दुनिया किस दिशा में जा रही है. And हमने देखा what has happened in Iran, you know, the cyber attacks on Iran installations, government entities, nuclear sites, everything has taken place. And the effect of which, actually full effect of which has not really come out in the open. Obviously, every government wants to keep certain aspects secret. They don't want to show कि कितनी चोट लगी है, and that too by apparently a disorganized group.
Yeah.
That too by a disorganized Israeli group. And is it an Israeli group? Is it a Israel-sponsored, government-sponsored attack, or it is a disorganized attack? We really do not know. But I'm quite sure in ये सब जो होता है इतने बड़े स्केल पे, इसके पीछे कुछ ना कुछ हाथ जो है गवर्नमेंट एजेंसीज का जरूर होता है. Because Israel is a very this entire thing is a very well coordinated kind of an warfare. It cannot just happen just like that. When you say disorganized, तो थोड़ा सा मुझे strange लगता है कि it's a disorganized group. And this was something which has to do with the Stuxnet. You know, if you remember the old cyber attacks which had taken place long time back, couple of years back. So this is what is happening, and this is a very scary thing. First you had the pagers, then you have the pager, pagers blew up all over. Then you had the walkie-talkies blowing up altogether. Then you had a precision bombing on the headquarters where the meeting was supposed to take place. So we all understand that Israeli technology is way superior, and their mind works in a different level. Well, that is one part. What is happening in Ukraine is another aspect. Ukraine, we all know that there is a little pullback as far as the support from the West is concerned towards Ukraine. Of course, that victory plan which was supposed to have been, put forth, उसका तो कुछ पता ही नहीं चला कि victory plan है क्या, because it was more of a begging spree once again. ये begging spree से मुझे याद आता है, मुझे एक बड़ा वो लगता है, I draw similarities between Pakistan and Ukraine. I mean, it gets me going, bonkers, thinking that both sides, these two countries are always with the begging bowl. Their bloody internal politics is in shambles. They do not know what the fuck is happening. So sorry to use. They do not know as to what exactly is happening. And thankfully, Pakistan has got an internal strife. There is no, external war going on. But still, they're always there out begging. These two countries. So this victory plan was also based on something like कि मुझे इतना दे दो, मुझे ये दे दो, तो मैं ये करूंगा, तुम मुझे ये दोगे तो ये होगा और ये होगा. So obviously, the second piece, there was supposed to be a peace talks summit, which was supposed to be in Ramstein, the NATO station over there in Germany. That also has been kind of
Push back, postpone.
postponed, cancelled, whatever it is. There's going to be no talk of peace because Russia, in any case, is not going to attend. So Russia is pushing hard on Kursk, and they are going to take back their own territories, just slowly and slowly, rolling out and winding up these the Ukrainian incursion. And on the other side, on the eastern front, they're they are nearing Pokrovsk and nearing that important township, the important hub. And once they have taken that, I think, as it is, Ukraine is on to its knees. There are feelers. He is willing to trade. Zelensky is willing to trade land for certain conditions. So ये हो गया, आप यूक्रेन की तरफ देख लें. Then you're looking at other aspects. You're looking at in Africa, you have the Sahel, which is getting stronger and getting defiant and very, very firm in its belief that the Westerners have to be pushed out. So that Traoré, the president of Burkina Faso, Captain Traoré, he is a firebrand. He's this present generation. You see, what you got to see is that the current generation is well aware as to what is happening and what wrong has been done, and they're trying to undo the things which have been done in the past. If you look at the South China Sea, again, you know what is happening. China is carrying out their drills, and they carried out these massive drills about 2 days back, and they're all there on the sea and practicing. Obviously, when they practice, they carry out maneuvers there. They're practicing the invasion of Taiwan. So when you look at all this, you have the SCO meeting happening. You have these BRICS. You have, UN not being very effective, whether it was Israel or whether it was this thing. And then over that is the overarching kind of a caveat which is going around. What about the US politics? Right. Now, we must all understand that post 1991, when the collapse of the Soviet Union, everybody started going in for multilateralism, so to say. Everybody, because there was no blocks, there were no two blocks existing, and people started, okay, I should be good with so and so, I should be good with so and so, as long as my national interests are being met. But all that hasn't continued for a very long time. Now the entire dynamics of multilateralism is also changing. When all this came about, when the Soviet Union collapsed, there were only 2-3 things which were being talked about. There should be democracy, there should be rule of law, and the markets. We should have flexible markets. We should have trade, etc. was being discussed. Those were things, and then the new world order kind of started emerging. Right now, what is the new order which is emerging? New world order. We are talking about the new world order. ये क्या चीज है new world order? Basically, the new multilateralism has given way to a new world order where everybody is looking at its own interests. Right? Now, what changed the new world order? Or what is the new emerging new world order? What is the new world order which is emerging? That is very important. Or किसने change किया? This entire thing has been triggered by Ukraine. You see, in 2014, when Crimea was taken over by the Russians, annexation of Crimea took place. That is the time that kind of transition started taking place, because Russia asserted itself and claimed all this territory. And now it's been 3 years, nearly 3 years, we are talking about the Ukraine war. And this Ukraine war has now given a twist to the entire geopolitics.
Correct.
right? Now, when this twist has taken place, what has changed? We have to see what all is changing today in the current situation. आज की तारीख में क्या क्या बदल रहा है? That's what we got to be seeing. You see, we are all talking about the reforms in the United Nations.
Yeah.
Right? Why just this P5? I mean, what has got France got to do with it? What has UK got to do with it? Right?
France still okay, sir.
UK. I mean, yeah. What are they going to do? What are they? And then we're talking about representation of the entire population of the world. We want representatives from Africa. We want greater representation from Asia. India being one of the largest populated countries in the world, the most populous country, and has no representation. It cannot happen. So we're talking about the UN reforms. We're talking about IMF. IMF also we are talking about that it is biased and needs to kind of. Then you have the World Bank and all these whatever these institutions are called. And then you have the post 1991. We have had so many new groups emerging. BRICS. And suddenly now you find BRICS is becoming all the more powerful. More and more countries are wanting to join BRICS. Then you have the formation of the African Union. You have the EU which got formed. You have the ASEAN which is also kind of trying to assert itself. So then you have informal blocs, Quad, AUKUS. Then you talk about the Five Eyes. So what I'm saying is, what I'm coming to is you have G20, G7, RIC, all these kind of small informal blocks are also emerging. What I'm trying to put across is that there is a lot of change. There is a lot of trying out. I would say, if you say that any such mature block has matured, it hasn't, in my opinion. While BRICS is there, but is it fully matured?
Nope.
Does it have the correct direction in which it is headed? If it is SCO, agreed, it may be a Shanghai Cooperation, whatever organization, but what is the direction that it is taking? Is it anti-West? Is BRICS anti-West? Are they openly talking about it? No, they are not. Everybody is in the garb of economics, trade, all that. I'll just take a little call and just tell this gentleman I'm busy.
No problem,
Anyway,
sir.
yeah. Anyway, so
See, what I see is BRICS made, the funny thing is that the charter of BRICS was basically to break the Western financial system. Not break, but challenge the Western financial system. Right? And they came out and said, नहीं, जो formation हुआ था 2008 में, when this Lehman Brothers crisis happened, so they said, यार ये, we have nothing to do with this. तुमने हमारी ऐसी बैंड बजा दी है. So we are going to kind of form our own grouping and kind of see how to sustain ourselves. So that was the thing. They created this bank and this and that. But somewhere down the line, sir, today's narrative which is being propagated in BRICS is कि भैया हम तो मतलब एकदम डॉलर को बाहर फेंक देंगे कल सुबह टाइप्स.
That is there, but what I'm talking about is that de-dollarization has been triggered more so by the sanctions which were imposed on Russia.
Absolutely. Sanctions plus the holding of his reserves, $300 billion.
Correct. Yes. So the realization is set in the rest of the world that look, yaar, ye to on some pretext or the other, if they put sanctions and they're holding us, to ransom. So we've got to have an alternate means of transaction, right?
That's
now,
true.
this is a major fallout of the Ukraine war and the sanctions being imposed on Russia, right? Now, whether they have worked or not, that is a different story. But the realization is certain that you've got to have an alternate means, because these guys, you really do not know as to where are they headed. what are they going to, what are they thinking, and what will they do, right? Now, a very important fact which has emerged post 1991, post this new world order, is that no single country today can dominate the world.
That's true.
So the
Very nice.
bottom line is, if USA thinks it is the sole superpower, while it may still have all the military might, it may have all the economic might, but that might is also on the decline, right? It's on the decline because all the nations are looking at alternate options. A, B, their own internal conditions are such, whether it is the polity, whether it is the economy, whether it is mass shootings which are taking place, the immigrant crisis, or the students not being they're not giving visas to students, and all that. And then earlier it was the Americans were only talking about they were looking at China. Russia was not being considered. There was a time kind of America had said, okay, yeah, Russia, economically very weak, sideline it. Sideline, I mean, I'm using a harsh word for it. I'm just saying that Russia was not a priority as far as the United States was concerned. Priority became China, right? Priority became China. But now, with the reshaping of the world order, what has happened is that Russia and China are together. Right? So now the US has to think, the West has to start thinking in a different, doesn't have to, it is already thinking as to how to deal with Russia, China, Iran, North Korea. I mean, that axis is whatever they call it, the axis of evil or whatever. Right? But yes, they have to deal with such a huge population. And when you combine their economies, they are quite, let's face facts. So America today is being challenged. Then the United States, there will be a lot of contradictions. They haven't proven themselves in any war.
That's true.
Iraq, they never found any weapons of mass destruction. So Iraq is then Afghanistan, they were there for 20 years, and the kind of withdrawal that they did again has put them in a poor light. Then the number of casualties that they have incurred over a period of time, there is no support from within the United States for putting boots on ground anywhere else in the world today. That appetite has gone. That appetite has lost. Earlier, they were thinking, okay, no problem, we'll put troops on ground. But the body bags that they received back, today they do not have that kind of support from the locals. So as far as United States is concerned, it's losing its sheen. Uska wo jo thoda sa na, over a period of time, uski shamta jo hai ghatti ja rahi hai. You look at the debt it is in. You'll be surprised to how much of the debt they have. Current debt is 35.46 trillion. Not funny. Russian debt is 306 billion. Right? And interesting fact about, now that we're talking about fact, is an interesting fact I came about. The Pakistani debt is 74.3% of its GDP. Pakistan का. ठीक है.
People are saying, ये लोग बोलते हैं कुछ $90 billion हमारा debt है, but actually people say Pakistani debt is around close to 150 billion.
No. I will give you the exact figure. Pakistan debt as of today is 223.86 billion. 223.86 billion, which is 74.3% of its GDP. Indian debt is 635 billion, which is 18.61% of its GDP. right? Whereas the United States is at 35.46 trillion. So what we are talking about is the economy. The United States economy is in quite a bad shape, is what I would say. Then we've talked about, you know, they they're losing that soft power if they had any today. There is soft power issues are coming about in, as I said, immigration issues, handling of the border fence, etc. Whatever is happening there. Then human rights, mass shootings which are taking place, and then contradictions in whatever they say. On one hand, they talk, they are supporting certain autocratic nations. On the other hand, they talk of democracy. Then we know that there is racial inequality, all that. So then this is all coupled with rise of China. Economically, the rise of China. And the rise of China is like whatever said and done, whatever we may say, China has risen. All that BRI, etc., it has made inroads in Africa. It has, whatever it may be. I mean, the fact remains that today, United States cannot claim to be, building infrastructure in other countries, assisting other countries. No, it cannot claim. It is China which can claim, yes, debt trap, etc. That is a different story. Then technology wise also, America का थोड़ा बुरा हाल ही है. China is fast catching up. And the moment you bring in sanctions, as long as sanctions are not there, people are comfortable trading with you, buying from you. Right? The moment you put sanctions, he says, okay, fine, now I'll make my own. Like we did, when the Indians did, we did that cryogenic engine, etc. So when you look at it, US today cannot claim to be the sole superpower.
Correct.
That is very, very evident. And these are the few facts that I just stated that, this is what is happening. Outcome of the political, whatever is happening in the presidential elections will change very little. What will it change? If Trump comes to power, we know that, the tap towards Ukraine is going to be closed. So the Ukraine war will be brought in. The Trump comes to power, we know that the tariffs will be quid pro quo. If you are charging me this much, I'll also charge you this much. Fair enough. I mean, if your tariff rate is 300%, like in India, we have larger, the statements being made by Trump all these days. So the tariff part of it it's a fair game. So nothing much is going to change. Gun culture there, nothing much is going to change because it has existed. The gun lobby is very, very strong over there, right? Immigration issues. Yes, if Trump comes to power, we will have the immigrants being pushed back or absorbed legally. Now, at the moment, of course, the process to absorb them legally is there, but the numbers coming into the United States is very, very large. That is, of course, a cause. I can't fathom this, If today I want to go to the US, I go and stand there next to the fence and then I go in and he says, welcome, come, let's go to a camp, houses me in a hotel and does my documentation. He says, I'm an illegal immigrant and that's it.
Yeah.
That's what is happening, right? ऐसे तो फिर हम लोग बांग्लादेशी लेके रखते रहेंगे तो हमारे पास तो कोई बचेगा ही नहीं. बांग्लादेश खाली हो जाएगा और इंडिया भर जाएगा. So we cannot allow that, right? Immigration has to be a controlled policy. So ये सब हो रहा है जियोपॉलिटिक्स में. अभी देखो अमेरिका के ऊपर निर्भर है, but मेरे हिसाब से it's not going to make much of a difference. America is going to continue to decline. Russia, China, Iran, and North Korea have already ganged up. My concern into holding all this is, where does India fit in? हमें अपना देखना है ना. We as Indians got to see as to where we fit in.
Mm-hmm.
Are we US aligned? Are we, what do you call, aligned towards Russia? Are we mending with China? As we all know, we are not talking about aligning ourselves to a particular group. We are looking at continuing to maintain strategic autonomy. As far as we are to be seen, and we are being seen as a leader of the global South. Not just like that. It is for a reason, because our statements are very mature. Our policies are very, very deliberate and thought of, and they are not biased against any particular group.
That's
We do
true.
look at. So I think our diplomacy is a very, very seasoned diplomacy, which is being exercised, and I think that's a very good sign.
May I ask you, sir, the decline of US that you've spoken about will also lead to the decline for the US-led structure of the world, right? एक वो जो
Correct.
खड़ा करके रखा हुआ है इन लोगों ने, वर्ल्ड बैंक, ये वो सारे वो बंदे खड़े
Absolutely.
करके रखे हुए हैं, तो उनका तो डिक्लाइन होगा. But how do you think? I mean, see, anybody who's sitting, वो अपने मतलब अपने सिर में से ताज तो निकालेगा नहीं, तो लड़ेगा, right? How do you think he's going to fight this change? How do you think he's going to resist this change? Because everybody talks about कि भाई de-dollarization हो जाएगा, ये हो जाएगा, वो हो जाएगा, all that stuff is done. Fair enough, but do you think US will just keep quiet during this time?
You see, that is the main worry of the United States. What you just said, that this particular thing is what is dictating, this fear is dictating all actions which are being taken today by the United States or by the West. You have an aging population in Europe, right? The population is aging. As far as the white community, though I don't believe in black or white, but when you're looking at the white supremacy, that white supremacy is going to decline. That is how Islamization has set in. So what I'm trying to say is that they are worried about all this, and rightly so. If anybody is in power, and anybody who's looking at considering strategic options and studying all this, what's happening in the world, the Americans in the West are worried. So all these actions which are being taken today, whether it is Ukraine or whether it is Israel, if today we know that Israel cannot on its own fight, we also know that the Americans are even today participating in the war between Israel and Hamas. You call it Hamas, or you call it Israel, Iran, or you call it what? The Americans are very much there, right? In this war. They're a party to this war. They're participating in this war. If they lose in Ukraine, their relevance is kind of doomed. So they're fighting for relevance, at least in the Middle East and in Eastern Europe. And God forbid if something erupts in the South China Sea, we really do not know as to how and what kind of what shape that conflict will take. So what is the best option for these guys? Who are the biggest challengers to the American supremacy? Who are the biggest challenges? China? India? Russia?
Yeah, well, I think what the US, to my mind, is majorly scared about is, every time Jaishankar mentions multi-alignment and multi-dimensional foreign policy, I have seen that the Americans feel very uncomfortable with that. They're not.
Yes.
See, one thing they don't like is, यार तुम इधर भी जाते हो उधर भी जाते हो, इसका क्या मतलब है? And this is something which I see as a Western kind of, I don't know what to call it. वो घोड़ों के ब्लाइंडर लगा देते हैं ना,
Mind block.
those,
Blinkers.
blinkers. I think it's that they think everything is a binary. It's either yes or a no.
That's the problem.
No.
Either you're with us or you're not with us.
So how's that binary supposed to break is something? And today they do give statements saying, oh, we understand India's relation with Russia, हमको समझ में आता है, आपका बहुत पुराना historical relation है. But वो कांग्रेस के सामने बैठ के वही बकवास करते हैं कि नहीं, we are trying to remove India from Russian defense partnerships and this and that. तो ये बाइनरी सिस्टम इनको will it ever break? Because इनकी तो एजुकेशन सिस्टम के अंदर भी वही है, बाइनरी, yes, no, there is no yo.
I agree with what you just said. These guys are with blinkers, but at this time, they need India. The United States needs India to counter China.
That's there.
Right?
They need us more than we need them. That's understood.
True. So they are willing to overlook our relationship with Russia. That's the only thing. Yeah.
In Kannada, it says Salpa adjust madi. Adjust a little bit.
A little adjustment. Because they know that tomorrow, if the RIC becomes stronger, Russia, India, and China get together, you can imagine as to what can happen to the West.
It's a big boom, yeah.
Right? So Russia and China already together. India with Russia. India with Russia is a kind of okay, fine. This is hyphenated a little. That's what it's an hyphenated relationship. Let's overlook that. And India, as a country, cannot afford to antagonize Russia because the fact of the matter is even अभी तक तो हमने S-400s अभी लिए, right? We may be getting MQ-9 Reapers, this thing from.
No, we've taken S-400s. The ALT-41 का जो अभी what do you call ALT-41? The engines we've said.
Yeah.
Whole lot of stuff which is being done between India and Russia. And now, day before yesterday, we signed a deal for the icebreakers.
Correct.
Where Russia and India has kicked out China. तू भाग यहाँ से, हम देखेंगे अपने आप.
तो हमारा जो relationship है इनके साथ, fact is that it is there, यार. It's traditional, it is historic, it is whatever you want to call it. It cannot be broken. It cannot be broken. So this realization, thankfully, has set into the Americans' mind, and they keep some of the people who are, I would say, ill-read or immature, tend to talk whether in Congress or otherwise, they continue to make anti-India statements, and they keep questioning our external affairs minister wherever he is as to why are you siding with Russia?
Same question.
Same question. Why do you buy oil? Why do you buy this? Knowing very well as to what the reasons are and what the compulsions are, or what our relationship is, still they will continue to keep pricking on this particular score. Now, what the West must realize that there is more to the world other than being American, Canadian, or European. There's Africa. There's Southeast Asia.
Nobody apart from India talks about Africa, Southeast Asia as a global South. That's what you mentioned all the time.
So they do not realize that, and the majority of the population is living in these countries. And these are the countries which require maximum support. Right? This is what they do not realize. So India, having grown in stature as far as economy is concerned, militarily it has grown, and has of late in the last decade or so started voicing its concerns. So it has and supporting the global South, supporting whatever actions have to be taken as far as sustainability is concerned. You know what happened in G20. and we're having these Friends of the Global South Summit, etc., which we're chairing. So a lot of initiatives have been taken by India, the International Solar Alliance. So these are not small steps; these are big steps which India has taken towards uh, improving the conditions, the vaccine diplomacy. I mean, whatever said and done, India has done a lot for the global south, and it continues to do so, and thereby earning respect.
Hmm.
On the contrary, what is happening is the respect which is there for the United States is going down, right? And like last time when we spoke, fact is it's this, it's the internet explosion, the social media explosion, which has educated all these people from the global south, and they started realizing as to who's a friend, who's a foe, who means business, or who's selfish, or who means good for our nation. So that kind of realization has set in. Now, the biggest fear that I have, and it's my personal, very, very personal, this thing is, we as India should not be driven into a conflict with our neighbors. We have to avoid a conflict.
This is not the era of war. I
That
keep
is not
saying this.
the, yes, it is not the era of war. While we continue to maintain this, there are people, there are agencies, there are groups, there are these deep state or whatever you want to call it, who are wanting us to get into this, get into a confrontation, and take some steps which will be detrimental to our growing economy as also to our growing military might, thereby weakening India. So that is what we have to be guarding against, and that all. I mean, as Indians, we must be very, very convinced that our prime focus is, you know, good neighborliness, maintain relationships. Of course, what's happening in Bangladesh, that's also deep state,
Yes, so
whatever you want to call it.
periodically.
These are pinpricks which will,
Hmm.
over a period of time. After all, if they have to play a political part, political game, it has to be based on something, and they're playing their game.
Yeah.
And once they come into power, they know that you can't do without India, so you again come back into the fold, like what's happened in Maldives, what happened in Sri Lanka, and things like that. Sri Lankans also, of course, while the person may be a communist and he may be China inclined, but they all understand as to without India, without the
Marega.
population, yeah, I mean, it cannot happen that they are not friends with India. You may have differences. All countries will have differences over specific issues, but good neighborliness has to prevail. And this aspect is what there are agencies, that these deep state bolo, jo bhi bolo, jisko marchi bolo, they are wanting to disrupt this, and that is what we should be guarding against. And I think at least the senior hierarchy in our country is all very, very aware of this,
Mm.
and is working accordingly.
So when you see, today the everybody is talking about deep state. Yesterday the RSS chief Mohan Bhagwat, he came out and said कि यार ये deep state ये बदतमीजी कर रहे हैं इतनी कैसे चलेगा and all that, and they've been after us and ये वो and all that. So he was very crystal clear about the factor that this thing, previously everybody used to shy away from speaking about this. I've been saying that we've started hedging our bets quite hard for the past some time, and धीरे धीरे करके a little more brazenness will come into our policy going forward. Do you think that is kind of feasible? And we see this from Modi as well. He mentioned international conspiracies against Bharat. Uh, Mohan Bhagwat has said this. Deep state is literally now spoken about by every TV channel, every news channel, and this and that. And I'm so happy about it. There's no.
You see, we, as you said, you're happy about it. The fact is, we all should be happy about it, because earlier all this was being done in the quiet.
Yeah. Mm.
At least now it's all come up in the open, and everybody is kind of realized that bhai ye jitna gadar hota hai, whatever chaos takes place is not a genuine cause. It is engineered cause. It's an
Hmm.
engineered problem. It has been engineered not only for political reasons, but engineered with an ulterior motive by somebody else who's outside our country and is playing through certain parties uh, within certain people within our country. So this realization which is set in is something which is very, very good for us.
Hmm.
Today we are discussing this. As you said, everybody is just talking about it. So this particular aspect has come out in the open. People have been identified. And I think people, if you are an Indian and playing to the tune of the deep state, you will be sorted out sooner or later. You will automatically come out in the open and utter something, and then obviously you call up freedom of speech and you call up anything, but the fact is anti-nationalism is anti-nationalism. That cannot be tolerated. Yeah.
That is. See, when I mention this thing, I don't have a problem with criticism and this and that. मेरे को बड़ा अच्छा लगता है कि साहब, it should be there, and I personally criticize and stuff like that. But when it crosses a certain line from being uh, constructive to a point where you're now kind of becoming anti-national, as you mentioned, there's a bit of a challenge. Let's the final point that I want to kind of discuss here is, sir, when we talk about the new world, right? We talk about, and I want to take this point by Henry Kissinger. The man knew his shit. There's no question about it. He was a rotten human being. There's no, but he knew what he was talking about. He mentioned in his book that India is going to be the fulcrum for the new world order. Now, you can take fulcrum in two, three ways. You can say our fulcrum is the where all end all of the new world order. I look at it not as anything else, but a fulcrum would be something on whose game the world order will be based on. It may not be our world order, but it will be something that your values, your civilization, and that will take the new world order uh, to the next level. How do you see this, sir?
What do you just this aspect of being a fulcrum? What is a fulcrum? It's where everything
Balances.
rests. It
Hmm.
balances. So India as a nation is going to be the balancing factor between the good and the evil, the bad, the bad and the ugly. It's going to be able. It's going to be able to balance the entire world, and kind of that state has started emerging even as we speak. It has already emerged. People are looking up to us as far as the Ukraine peace accord is concerned. People are looking up to us when you're talking about Israel and the Palestinian issue, right? The Iran, we are friends with Iran, we are friends with Israel, we are friends with Palestine, the Palestinians. We are friends with Ukraine, we are friends with Russia. We have differences with China. We are trying to sort out those differences in a peaceful manner. We've also changed our tone, adjusting ourselves to the new realities on ground. So what I'm trying to say is that we are already viewed, and it should be viewed, if not as the fulcrum around which or based on which the new world order is taking shape. India is not taking no shit from any country.
Anyone? Hmm.
Yeah. So when you're not taking any nonsense, when you're ready to challenge anybody, when you're ready to uh, play to the tune which is the right tune without any bias, you are going to be respected. Now, when you look at, let's go a step further. The fact of the matter is the Indian Ocean and in which India protrudes, right, plays an important part. The entire maritime routes, when you look at it, after all, are passing through this Indian Ocean. It's a huge area. So our domination, all from whether it is from our shores right up to Africa and down to Antarctica. I mean, there is a line which you don't encounter any other land between India and Antarctica. So the point I just included this just to make bring in this little aspect that already we are playing a part, and as the years go by, India will be seen to play a greater part by the day.
And we should not take it as the factor that we've already arrived. We've not. There's a bloody long way for us to go.
We have arrived, I would say, but
on the
we have
world
just
stage.
about arrived. We have just
Yeah.
about arrived. We've just not taken off. We have not taken off as yet. So, there are statements by many people who are educationists and bureaucrats. They're saying that this century is going to be India's century, right? They talk of India being a superpower. Already talking about that India is going to be a superpower. Economically, as it is, we are sooner or later going to be the third largest economy, right? So India has arrived, but has not taken off. If I may just put it.
That's a very, very nice thing. I must say that having these kind of debates is very important for us to understand what's happening in the world. And I always say this because you need to have a global view. We need to, when we are talking about various issues, we need to look at all the stuff which is happening around the world and try and see where do we sit in the middle.
Correct.
Because there is no question that this world is going to change, and it's not going to be easy. There's going to be a lot of chaos before it actually changes, before people actually allow it to change, which is the best. Now, just we've got a lot of questions, sir, but I'm going to just ask you one shooting. But okay, I think there is a question about that, so I'll put in my mirchi masala with that. But so, guys, let's do one thing. All of you guys, please like the video, subscribe to the channel, most importantly, and share this with your friends and families. And of course, yes, my request to everybody is, if you can, do contribute towards this channel using the QR code or PayPal or super stickers or super chats. Let's see. First, let me just acknowledge the members: Kiran ji, Saptarashi ji, Sunil ji, Vijay ji, and Chandubai ji. Thank you so much, all of you, for becoming members of Dev Talks. Welcome to the grid. Osho Satsang Mandali Saab, thank you so much. कहते हैं कि BRICS news expert say Pakistan will join. Will India allow? Why?
Pakistan joining, not joining, it is going to be as far as India is concerned,
it's a non-issue.
I want to know what are the credentials that Pakistan has to join BRICS.
सर आप इतना बड़ा सवाल पूछ लोगे ना, पाकिस्तानी बेचारे फेंट हो जाएंगे. आप ऐसे क्यों पूछ रहे हो?
नहीं, मैं पूछना चाहता हूँ कि तुमने हाथ खड़ा किया, हमको ज्वाइन करना है ब्रिक्स, रशिया ने बोला, रशिया को रिक्वेस्ट मारी, बट when it comes to memberships, it has to be all the 5 countries: Brazil, Russia, India, China, South Africa. They all have to have a unanimous decision as to whom to allow and whom not to allow. And you ought to have some kind of a record. You got to be good at something to be part of it. No, what am I going to benefit on Pakistan other than China? Other than China, and maybe a little bit of now they are wanting to carry out trade with Russia. So the point I'm trying to make here is, as far as India is concerned, India will have objections on the terrorism front, and definitely.
That's a failed state. What am I supposed to do with a failed state in a?
I mean, you don't want a country which is going to be playing spoil sport.
Yeah, I don't want to make it from BRICS to pricks.
Yeah, plain and simple.
You know,
Whatever state it may be. I mean, on this particular aspect, if India will raise the issue of terrorism, you sudharo your, you mend your ways, and then we will talk about it.
apart from that, I think we should take Pakistan into BRICS. दरबान चाहिए ना कोई
Yeah.
मार्शलर चाहिए होता है जहाज को नीचे पार्किंग यहाँ कर लो सर पानी पी लो
So,
सर
so let's
दरवाजा
see.
खोल लो
So, Pakistan has got a long way to go. People,
there are
I
few
feel-
people who tout this whole thing that we should take it into a partner model and this and that and all that.
No, 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 no,
You know,
no, no.
this whole partner model nonsense is a propaganda that the Russians have been trying to put across, and it's just not going to happen. I mean, you can't make them sit on the same table as you.
Yeah.
Parthaji, thank you so much. Is it true that North Koreans have entered the Ukraine-Russian conflict? What's next? The PLA, then the Republic of China? कुछ तो गड़बड़ चल रही है.
Well, there are reports that the North Koreans have entered, and this is something. You see, is there visible proof of it? They're just reports. Has a North Korean soldier died? Has a North Korean soldier been in battle? Well, there's no news to that. Yes, there are reports. Some YouTube channels are talking about it that North Koreans have arrived. What happens is, in my opinion, because there is no concrete proof, they have supplied missiles to, they have supplied equipment, the artillery rounds to Russia. No doubt, no denying that. When there is an equipment transfer which takes place, there is a certain amount of a military component which comes along to ensure smooth handover, smooth functioning, and smooth maintenance of that equipment, because that equipment is of that country's origin. So, in my opinion, that sort of arrangement must be existing and must have got implemented. Are they there on the front? I have my doubts. Yeah.
हाँ घुमाने लेके गए होंगे वो कोई भरोसा नहीं देखो भाई यहाँ पर ऐसी गोली चलती है.
I mean, orientation or whatever.
That a lot of people do during wartime. That happens.
Yeah, you have observers which have come in and say that okay, this is what is happening. I do not think that they would be anywhere near the front.
Yeah, Ramesh ji, thank you so much. Says, sir, hasn't Hamas Iran categorized global Islam with a transgenerational clause, independent of their governments, which is not going to unravel with economics?
I fully
Ramesh
agree with
ji,
you.
beautiful, very very good, yeah.
This is something. Of course, I did not we didn't discuss this issue to that level. But what the statement that you've made is absolutely hitting the nail on the head. Now, this is something, it transcends beyond governments. It transcends beyond economics, because when you look at Islam, it's a faith. And if I am a follower of a particular faith and people of my faith are being, hit like the way they have been hit by the Israelis, obviously there is anger. Whether you have relatives or you don't have relatives, but they're part of your faith, they're your kin, if I may just say so. So this this kind of, as you said, catalyze, it definitely has. And this is something which needs, I do not know how will it get tempered. I really do not have an answer as to how this thing will get tempered, because it is beyond government. It is beyond.
It doesn't look at borders. It's
it's nothing to do with that.
Yeah.
That is why you have protests all over. That's why you have protests all over in campuses and universities and all over the world.
I mean, I must say, Ramesh ji, that was a fantastic question. Very, very well thought of. Anshuman ji, thank you so much for your contribution. Mini, madam, don't worry about it. Absolutely fine. Advaita ji says, sir, it is clear that Donald Lu is playing language subnationalism card for upcoming elections. Can you explain other ways of subnationalism fake narratives that we can expect in the age of AI?
Anything can happen. As far
Yeah.
as AI is concerned, we all know all those who are playing around with AI today. So these fake narratives, and you can have a fake Trump coming about and making a statement which is
Did they
totally
have a
anti.
fake? Didn't they have a fake Amit Shah?
Yes. So you have somebody just coming up and making statements, but the thing about it is that these narratives have to get controlled. These narratives, uh, because they can harm the entire world. Whether it is President Trump, Biden, or Kamala Harris, whosoever comes into power, Kamala Harris or Trump, or a third person, whosoever is the president of the United States, his utterances are taken very seriously by the rest of the world. So I am with you in the AI age. Anything is possible, and these fake narratives, and it is for us people who are well read, we should be able to decipher as to whether it is a fake one or whether it's a real thing. But AI is going bonkers.
Sodium Syndicate. He says US deep state is going down and wants to take the whole world down with it.
Agreed. Totally agree with you. And this is the main cause of worry for them. That's why they are there they started this conflict in Europe. Uh, Perhaps that is the reason they started when they were failing or they were not succeeding in Europe. They created this, the deep state. I mean, created this in Israel as well.
SV201 says, who do you think will win the US elections? I think Trump has a very good chance. What do you think?
Who cares? Who wins? What we got to see is somebody who wins. We will see. We have to deal with them thereafter.
Yeah.
Today, as of today, as I and you don't have to really bother as to who comes to power. There's no speculation in this. He wants Trump comes, good for us. Kamala Harris comes, good for us. We shall deal with that person, appointed person in that particular democratic country, the way the government has to be dealt with. It really
Absolutely.
doesn't matter.
Rajesh Agrawalji says, Adi, Pakistan is well off than in USA's terms of debt. USA is nearly 150% of debt, so Pakistan is better.
Absolutely. USA, you see, they keep printing dollars.
Yeah.
What you got to see is that the difference between US and Pakistan is that they just have to ramp up the printing machinery a little more, so the dollars can keep getting produced. Whereas as far as Pakistan is concerned, they have to buy those dollars. They have to earn those dollars.
But binary to binary, yeah, it makes sense actually. Suman Awasthi Saab, he says, sir, US banks the likes of Chase and all kinds of scammers with their customers, $1 trillion in interest by reverse REPO rate. They got more interest from the Fed on their deposit than what they gave to the customers in return. Screw them. Seriously?
So all this, we know that whether it is Chase or whether it is any other bank in the US, they're all owned by whom?
The deep state.
Owned by the deep state.
Same monkeys.
Same monkeys who are running that. So it's a game. They are all out to fleece the government and the public.
I'll tell you something. I'll just take 15 seconds and tell you something, sir. I don't know if you've heard about this, but in US, there's a huge trend of basically getting to know your DNA, right?
Yeah.
काफी एक वो trend चलता है, and they basically have these tests and all that stuff where they tell people, yeah, you send us your samples and we will give you where you are from and this and that and everything. We will figure this out.
What percentage are you Hispanic and what percentage are you Indian?
So they will do that. Yeah, they will do that. Now, as it turns out, this particular firm basically was suddenly shut shop, after taking up data for about good 80-90% of people, it suddenly shut shop. Okay, why? They realized the entire board of directors basically resigned on a single day.
Okay.
All of them. They just resigned. Why? They realized the owner of the company is called Mac 23 or something like that. ऐसी कुछ नाम है उस company का. She's the wife of the guy who runs Google, the owners of Google.
Yeah, I heard that. Yeah.
Now, picture this. They've got your DNA. They've got your likes. They've got your preferences. They've got everything. They will tell you what's wrong inside you, produce the medicine, advertise it, and sell it to you. Like, that's shocking. I'm like, what the hell is this? When I read about this, I'm like, oh God, this is, I mean, they've actually done this. And this happened last week. By the way, you know what was the cover for it? The PDD trials. So when everybody was focused on PDD and Trump, these guys were doing this at the back. Nobody picked it up. Nobody spoke about it. It's done.
So basically, the amount of scams which take place at a large scale in the United States is not funny.
It's ridiculous. When I read, I'm like, oh God. Because I was wondering, why are they after this rap artist? What the hell has he done? पागल है इनके पीछे पड़े हुए.
DD के पीछे पड़ गया.
Then you said, bloody hell. When I saw this, I'm like, oh, now I understand. I mean, this is... Rahul Rathod, he says, what will be like post the US order? What will be the post-US order look like? And will the US be like UK after this time? What will be the time frame for the new order to emerge? Maybe 10 years down the line, will US accept its decline? I think last we picked up a timeline according to you, sir.
Yeah, I mean, you're looking at the US decline. It's going to be a slow decline. It's not that it's going to take place just in 10 years or so. Let's not say that we're looking at a decade, because what happens tomorrow is something very different. What will happen in the where the next conflict will erupt, whether it is in the Arctic or whether it is South China Sea, you really do not know. Mm-hmm. If it erupts in the Arctic region, you will find a different ball game altogether. And I keep talking about this because I'm slightly worried, because it gets ignored. That part of it gets ignored. And there we know the US and Russia are just separated by a few kilometers. That's about all.
Yeah. The Barren Strait.
So what I'm saying is, will the US get into a direct confrontation with China and Russia? If this confrontation takes place,
bloody hell,
the outcome of this confrontation, if it takes place, will dictate the outcome and will dictate the future of the United States.
Interesting.
I'm talking about a direct confrontation.
Dhaval Tripathi ji, thank you. Ram ji, can you shed some light on Maldives and China situation with USA and Bangladesh? How is it turning out right now? He ditched them.
USA is not in Bangladesh. USA triggered something in Bangladesh.
Yeah.
As far as Maldives is concerned, Maldives is back into India's fold, if I may just put it. As far as Maldives and China relations are concerned, they were earlier also. You see, Maldives draws a lot of tourists from China and from India. Number one. Number two, Maldives is, if you've studied Maldives, you will find it is a country which is all islands all over. The airstrips, the hotels, all that requires a tremendous amount of expertise. Land has to be reclaimed. Construction is not easy. So they are they are dependent on the Chinese as far as infrastructure development is concerned, and to a great extent also to the Indians who are there involved in business. So Maldives cannot live without China. Maldives cannot live without India. When it comes to the defense part of it, the security part of it, today they threw us out. Tomorrow they'll want us back.
They've already, sir. He said,
Yeah, no,
get
and,
your
and
sir, whatever defense thing you want to please set up and all
yeah.
that stuff.
So they're wanting us back, and we will go a step further,
Yeah.
right?
Now we're going to take what we need from them.
Yeah. So as I stated during the course of our discussion, these are all political gimmicks. I want to come into power. You know, every politician goes bashing somebody. You know, they needs a cause to build his support, public support from, and then thereafter reverse it. This is politics. I mean, they're all liars in any case, most of them. So it is to suit their own political agenda.
Last three, sir. Nancy Pelosi says, do you see an era of global south catching up in human development index with the rest of the world, development trickling down wider and wider, or yet another century or two of higher ups fighting and draining the south's resources?
A good question, actually. This is a debate in itself.
Yeah.
You see, the global south has woken up, right? Catching up, and to be equated with the north, so to say. Sorry, it's going to take time. Improvements, 100%. They will make improvements. The global south, when they the resources, when they take control of the resources, when they start when they are out of debt, when they are not being controlled by a foreign conglomerate or a country or a nation or a ex-colonial nation, once they get out of those clutches, they are bound to grow. And we have seen growth, and I think the growth will be faster than what we expect. There will be a deep state, again, I would say a deep state, or what should I say, interested parties who will make sure that that development doesn't take place. They will make sure that they are held to ransom on some pretext or the other, so that they can milk those nations. But today the awakening has taken place. Slowly and slowly the improvements will take place, I'm sure.
Parthaji says Turkey imposes duty on steel exports from BRICS nation. अबे ये तो join करने की application क्यों डाली बेवकूफ?
You see, we did not discuss Turkey. Turkey is emerging as one of the key players today, because Turkey is. You see, we should have discussed this. It's kind of slipped off. Turkey is playing its part as a European nation. It's a swing country, swing nation, right?
तो कहीं भी जाता है.
वो कहीं भी जाता है. वो इसलिए जाता है. देखो, it's a Muslim country. It's a country which is now siding with the Arab cause, right? It's siding with it's anti-Israel.
Yeah, but
right?
sells oil to Israel.
That's okay. That's trade. But fundamentally, what is happening is that it is voicing its concerns very vehemently as far as this the actions the Israelis are taking.
Yeah.
On the other hand, it is part of NATO, right? NATO means NATO favors Israel, right? But Turkey does not favor Israel. So there is this talk of NATO getting split, because now Turkey has also started siding with pro-Russian countries. And the other day it was in Serbia. The president was there in Serbia. Before that, we know what is happening in Hungary. the Hungarian, they are also getting anti-NATO. So there's a split which is taking place in NATO. There's a dissension between these countries. So there's internal politics which is on the negative spiral as far as NATO is concerned. So Turkey is playing its part. It has to play both sides. And which side that does it favor most is what we'll have to see. Yeah.
I think they're going to remove Erdogan and then probably get some clarity on that.
He's not easy to.
Yeah, that's true. Thought provocators up. Thank you. Is Babu Bangladeshi Buddha ditched by the CIA US? Not as yet.
Not as yet. You will not even hear of him after a couple of months. Just wait and watch.
They had a huge fight with between the army and them.
Yeah, because the army, as far as the army is concerned, I've dealt with the Bangladeshi army. These guys are very mature people. They know which direction the country must go. And fortunately, they are the ones who've seen the world. Each Bangladeshi army officer has done 3 to 4 UN missions.
That's how they earn the money.
Yeah, that's where they earn the money. It's the largest contributor as far as the UN peacekeeping forces are concerned. So what I'm trying to say is that they've seen the world, and they do understand as to what is in the interest of the nation. And anybody who's trying to pull them down, obviously there will be a little bit of tussle which will take place. The CIA, they will ditch them sooner or later.
Thank you, sir. Thank you so much for taking out the time. Sanuki. Absolutely. Sir, thank you so much for taking out the time. It's always a pleasure talking to you. And,
good to talk. Yeah.
This was a fun session and nice brain racking. It's always fun to kind of...
I know. We try to kind of cover up the whole thing in the short
It's always
form.
fun. I love doing this because global geopolitics, you're trying to talk at this larger strategic level. Because I think as Indians, we need to start doing that.
That's right.
We need to start doing that. We cannot be stuck in one region all the time. We need to kind of expand our point of view. We need to look at what's happening around the world as well. It's very important. On that note, sir, thank you so much, and we shall catch you when you.
Thank you very much for having me.
Jai Hind, Jai Bharat.